And good morning. It is another Tuesday morning here in the Kitchings Table, and I'm your host, Earl Kitchings. As usual, glad to be with you this morning and always glad to be helpful and bring you some information to help your day or help your week be better. Joining me as usual is my co-host, Miss Ronleen Kennedy. Ronleen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Earl. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good as another day comes up on the horizon and we prepare for this day. It's amazing that the world continually spins around and around every day, and every 24 hours there's something new to entertain us or to inform us. And I try to stay away from the political things because it would get me a little bit too animated at times. So I try to stay away from the political topics. However, politics seems to always have a playbook to follow each and every day, and there's always something. And I just hope as we continue to get through 2023 and prepare for the next presidential election, um, things will be a little bit calmer. I'll put it that way. Things will be a little bit calmer, and we don't have to deal with the circus because it is time for the circus to be
Yeah.
over. The circus has gone on long enough. I'm willing to give you back my money. Um you can, take my money. You can have my money back. I don't want the show anymore. Take my money and do what you want, or give me my money back. I'm tired of this show because it has gone on far too long and far longer than we ever anticipated. And and I'll leave it at that as far as politics goes. But today, I bring up a topic because when I read it, it really shook me when I read something that said the refugees that had come to the United States from Ukraine, they had a mass exodus when Russia invaded Ukraine and just destroyed a country that was minding its own business. But power and greed seem to have its place in the world today, and that's what people seem to really be fixated on and want to have their way and make comments. But when I read that the refugees from Ukraine would get supplemental security income, it raised a red flag. Because when I first read it, I was like, Social Security? But then I read it's like, no, supplemental security income. And when I first thought it was Social Security, it really raised a red flag. I'm like, how can they get anything like that when they have yet to work in this country? But that's not what they're going to be receiving. Supplemental security income. And before I let you weigh in with your comments, let me just read to you what it said here about supplemental security income. Uh, may be eligible for certain Ukrainian citizens or persons who have recently permanently resided in Ukraine who received a humanitarian parole. I want you to listen to these words. Now we go from uh, citizens who have permanently resided in Ukraine who had a humanitarian parole in the United States between February 24th, 2022 and September 30th, 2023, or after September 30th, if the person is the spouse of a child or the person who received the parole during the specified period, Ukrainians may be eligible for supplemental security benefits for up to, wait for the drumbeat, up to 7 years. Up to 7 years. And you may ask, well, how much money might that be under this supplemental security income? And based on the information, anywhere from $914 to $1,371. If you're a single person, 914, with a spouse, 1371. And And they say 458 for a main person. I don't know what a main person is, but the primary person is the person who cares for the supplemental security income recipient. And this federal supplement was put into action by the current administration. I'm not begrudging them for wanting to help, but our title for today is Ukrainian Support versus Support of Black America. We have. I'm gonna let you comment first before I give you the rest of the information. But I thought this was quite interesting that you say people coming up from Central America and Mexico, or you call them immigrants because they want to come over here and get a piece of the pie. But the people who come over here under duress because their country is being taken away from them, they're called refugees, and you give them a supplemental security income.
I'm happy that you brought that out because, as you know, that I'm in the insurance business and I'm dealing with the income of people all of the time. And it bothers me when these people have worked all of their lives here in the United States where they were born. And most of my clients are African Americans. So when I look at the income that they have and the income of their counterparts from whatever the ethnic background is, it just brings me to the reality that we'll never get ahead. Never. It just, unless we do something different. And I don't know what that difference gonna be. However, you know, so thankful that the professionals that I am involved with day to day, we're coming up with ways in order to be able to help our Black Americans, and not just Black Americans, but anyone who wants to receive the help, that we're putting together. But when I look at the differences of the amount of money that each household has of my clientele, it is, there is clearly a racial divide, even down to housing, who can get housing, affordable housing, and that kind of thing. How much money is allotted, towards a mortgage payment versus, is it just better just to pay rent, those things, because you're going to have repairs, once you get your homes and that kind of thing. So when I look at that and the numbers, just even at the $914 a month, it may not sound like much, but if you are someone who have been working here all of your lives and cannot, and you're denied SSI, okay, and someone comes over here because they had a crisis in their own country, and in 7 years, that total is $76,776.
Say that number again.
$76,776. Okay. And so, the question has always been, well, just like you are freely giving money away to the people that comes over, and, the border control thing that's going on, that's very real. And we're talking some very real numbers that people that are coming into America every day. And so they're getting money, they're getting set up, but our own people right here in the United States who have built America to be what it is today, always at the back of the line, And then that brings to mind, the severe loss that we had with Ben Frazier, always willing to take the risk of being arrested or whatever it is, so that he could fight for equality for us here in Jacksonville, Florida. So, for those people that are out there on the lines that are feeling the need to make sure that equality is happening everywhere, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of the fighters out there, that are fighting for equality because um, these are some real numbers today. They always have been and they need to be accounted for. So, Earl, thank you for allowing me to have something to say. And I don't know, but we need to do something. And then with the administration that's coming along, I'm hoping that things get better, but it doesn't look like it. Look like it's going to get worse.
Well, they say it's always darkest before the light. Unfortunately for Black Americans in this country, it seems that we're always under that cloud of darkness before the light. And as much as we do what we can and should do to be forthright citizens in this country, have been for a long time, we still feel the pain of denial. We still feel the pain of treated unequal. We still feel the pain of treated unfairly. But as the great poet Maya Angelou would say, and still we rise, and still we rise. And as the old cartoon from back in the day, Charlie Brown, you can't keep a good man down. Can't
Yes,
keep a good man down.
yeah.
So,
Interesting that you say that because on CBS Mornings they had William. I want to make sure I'm uh, Wesley. I'm sorry, Wesley Laurie on today, and he's written another book, but he's also written a book during the Black Lives Matter of when he said, they can't kill us all. So when you mentioned the Charlie Brown slogan, that just brings that all back. It's like, okay, no, they may not can't kill us all, but can they? Um, they can definitely hurt us, which they have been doing, with the redlining and all of the other things of denial of loans. And, it's like I talked to you about it, not long ago. It's amazing how we can get approved for cars and credit cards and things like that. But none of that can purchase a home for you. None of that can provide a place for you to permanently lay your head. And then eventually, once the mortgage is paid off, all you're doing now is paying taxes. So this thing is designed to keep us in, behind that eight ball, where we're constantly being shot through the hole.
well, when we talk about things from that perspective, it is difficult, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge and accept and place blame on ourselves for some of the things that happen. It's not totally the government or the administration or those people who don't look like us because, you know, we all play a part in whatever is going on. But moving back to the situation with Ukraine and being able to get this supplemental income. So, since the war began in Ukraine, the United States Congress has directed more than $75 billion in assistance to Ukraine. And that includes human aid, financial aid, military support. Those three things are critical. We for the United States to always get pigeonholed as the bad guy. When things get tough for a lot of countries, when they don't have anybody else to turn to for help and support, all eyes turn to the red, white, and blue for help. And for many years, yeah, we have helped. And, some things we have created, that are not good situations. But whenever folks get in trouble, they look to the red, white, and blue. Hey, America, can you help us out? Can you send some aid? Can you send some dollars? And what we do most of the time is we send that aid everywhere. I'll leave that blank alone. We send it everywhere. Uh, However, so here's some of the benefits that the refugees from Ukraine will get when they get to the United States. Financial support through temporary assistance for needy families, TANF. Temporary assistance for needy families. A lot of needy families in the United States, but they don't get that part, I guess. Medical insurance through Medicaid. Now, these are the benefits that the refugees will be getting who come from Ukraine to the United States. Medical insurance through Medicaid. People who have lived here all of their lives who are poor, they can't get that type of consideration. And then finally, supplemental nutrition assistance program. And you have to love a country that always has these acronyms for these programs. So this is the SNAP program, which is a food assistance program, i.e., food stamps. You put a name out there to kind of disguise what it really is, food stamps. So these are the three things that these refugees can receive when they get here. Uh, and it's on the dime of Americans, some who can't even get it for themselves. So when we talk about how much aid has gone to this country, and who knows when this war is going to be over. Now, the one thing that you compare this number of 75 billion to is the fact that, well, no United States personnel are involved in this war. We'll send the materials, we'll send the food, but we're not sending any manpower, which has been more costly. And I did look up those stats about what it has cost America to be a part of these wars. But let me transition to the other side of our topic for the day: the Ukraine support versus support for Black Americans in this country. So the median household income for Black households in 2021 here in America was $46,400. The median household income shows that 52% of Black households earn less than $50,000. 52%. Now, understand this. There are 46 there are 46 million Black people in America. 46 million. 47.8 million to be exact. 47.8 million out of 300 million people in this country. And you're saying that 52% of US households earn less than $50,000, while 48% make more. That is an alarming number. And of course, I like dealing in real numbers and not percentages. So if you took 47.8 and split it in half, you're just about at 24 million households. Just about 24 million households earn less than $50,000 a year. And after you take out their taxes, that number shrinks a little bit more. But yet, asking people who earn millions and millions to billions of dollars to pay fairly, equally, what they should pay for taxes, that's too big of a stretch. Keep making those who are less privileged or have less, make less, earn less, make them pay the bill. Don't worry about the people who are making all the money. Now, when we talk about households, and it's 52% or roughly about 24 million households, here's the other side to that. During a recent census survey, 3.12 million black owned businesses in America generate $206 billion in annual revenue, which supports 3.5 million jobs. Those are the numbers taken from 2021. And the $206 billion generated in annual revenue from black businesses pales in comparison to the fact that black purchasing power, and this is one of the things that we struggle with so mightily. We are more consumers than producers. I just gave you the numbers about black businesses, black incomes based on a census of 47.8 million black people in America. Black purchasing power, $976 billion with the potential to make it to $1.6 trillion in the United States. So the purchasing power of black Americans, one point, just let's just say $1 trillion. Let's just say even keep everything in round numbers, $1 trillion. Now, if you don't want that $1 trillion to circulate through the economy of this country, well, remove it and see what happens. See what kind of impact that $1 trillion will have over the total economy, since we are so devalued and underappreciated. But again, I go back to Maya Angelou, but still we rise. And as we find the need and necessity of teaching our children and their offsprings the value of who they are, what their contributions are, what differences they can make, it just shows that if we continue to understand who we are and do more for self, and I think that might be maybe part of the problem, but you know, my thing has always been this, Ronleen: the economics in America for black people has always been like running the 100 meter uh, race, 100 meter race in a track meet. And when we were growing up, if you had someone who was slow and you were fast, you would always challenge them by saying, I'll give you a lead. I'll give you, 4 or 5 yards. Or the great sprinter Bob Hayes, during his time in college, would give guys 10 yards in the 100-yard dash. He would give them 10 yards, a 10-yard lead. That's a big lead.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get a 40-yard lead, and we talk about economics, when you got a 40-yard lead, which equivalates into 200 years of having things your way before people of color can even get on the track, let alone get ready to get in the blocks to run, you're 200 years behind. You're 200 years behind getting any semblance of monies. Now, we're not going to even talk about wealth, but when you're that far behind, and they say, okay, well, now you can get in the race and run the race. Well, I'm already behind, but you want me to catch up? But guess what? And still we rise.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not detoured. We're disappointed, but we're not detoured. We understand, and the more we understand, the more we can do to change the dynamics. And this is the reason why, as you have stated, learning how to accumulate black wealth, uh, that is the end goal. Uh, the preliminary goals, though, you must get educated in order to understand how to do some of these things. And as long as we stay uneducated, not wanting to learn, not having the capacity to learn, we stay behind. And as long as they can make it difficult for us to learn and go to school and things of that nature, then it's easy. The largest businesses in America are called black colleges for black people. Those are some of the largest businesses in America. And they're all educational, they're all nonprofit, and they're all the key to getting you to that end goal of riches and wealth. And the more you can learn, the more you can be learned or you can share learning. And I think when we start teaching a little bit more from your perspective, being a person in insurance and teaching wealth, how to gain wealth, how to make that happen, how to be an entrepreneur, because I tell you, entrepreneurship is not an easy thing. It's a beneficial thing, but it requires work, just like going into an 8 to 5 job. But I'm looking at businesses that are sprouting up, Ronleen. I was online the other day. There are several companies, black-owned companies, who make their own liquor products, and I was shocked. I was like, I've heard of a couple, but when I saw this, I'm like, man, there's some folks making their own products, marketing their own liquors. I mean, and I'm not just talking about one or two. I'm talking about several. So we have the capacity. We just and we have the desire. What we don't have, Ronline, as you know, what do we like the most?
Money.
Money. Money. We lack the fiscal power to do more. If we had more capital, we could do more. But when you're trying to take our farms, when you're trying to destroy our businesses, when you don't want our children to learn on an equal path, you keep putting these hurdles in the way, these obstacles in the way. But Maya Angelou said it best: still I rise.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that out because I couldn't have brought that out any better than
Oh,
you.
but there's more.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, right before we go to our break, I just want to add, that financial education that you talked about, that is so key. This is one of the reasons why I beat the path of in the community to be able to teach that, everywhere I go. You had asked the question why, so many people are hoarding this information. They get it, they understand it or whatever, but not sharing it. And I think, even if it's just in conversation, one of my mentors said, if you're standing in the line at McDonald's, just tap the person in front of you and say, you know what I learned yesterday? Can I share it with you? And if they give you a few moments of their time, that is the time, to share what it is that you've learned. Something as simple as I did not know that there were living benefits associated with the insurance plans that we have today. And then they say, well, what is living benefits? Well, in the event that something happens to you, like you have a stroke or a heart attack or something like that, or you can't perform to daily living things per day or whatever, these are things that your insurance benefits have for you. All you need to do is make a claim, and bring money into your household. Sometimes that's a difference of being able to get a wheelchair ramp added to your home, get your bathroom remodeled, or things like that. So just sharing that, you can't unhear whatever it is that you've heard. And if you have a brain and it's working well, it's going to cause you to think and, to getting you to ask more questions or do your research, as they say, your due diligence. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, that we have to do our due diligence. We have to do our part. We can't sit by and think that a rescue is coming because as what her name is, Melanie, can't think of her name right now, but as she said, there is no rescue coming. And if we could think like that, we'll be on the ball as far as educating ourselves and educating our families. So go ahead and take it to the break.
Well, thank you, Ronleen, and good morning, everyone. You're tuned into the Kitchings Table, heard every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on Awesome Radio, WBISLP 106.9 FM. Catch us on social platforms such as Roku, GPAC 23, Facebook Live, and YouTube. Catch us and hear what we have to share with you because it might just make the difference in your day. You know, Ronlene, you said something about uh, unlearning something. Can you can you unlearn what you know? Can is
No,
that possible?
no. Now you can decide to put it on the shelf in your mind if you want to and not do anything with it. We have a lot of that going on.
But
But in the back of your mind, somewhere, it's going to prick you. That's that conscious of things.
well, I just thought I would ask the question if you can unlearn something because that would be truly an amazing thing to unlearn something. As we've grown up to be told the slogan of knowledge is power, that remains an ever present idea that we must embrace on a daily basis. Knowledge is power. I've asked the question, which is more difficult to attain, knowledge or wisdom? Which is more difficult to attain, knowledge or wisdom?
I believe it must be wisdom.
Every day that you're living is going to be wisdom because you can gain knowledge by reading a book, by reading an article, by reading the newspaper. You can get knowledge from that. But wisdom comes from one particular thing, experience. And when you experience something, whether good or bad, it gives you a lot more power than you ever thought of. And the simplest example, when you were coming up and your mother or your dad told you something was hot, don't touch it, it's hot. But you don't listen, you don't believe it's hot till you touch it. Then when you touch it and know that it's hot, you know that anytime you're around a stove or iron or something like that, it's hot. The car engine, the hood of the car is hot. The exhaust, if it's hot, don't touch it because it's hot. It doesn't take but one or two times. For those of you who it took more than one time, two times, three times, you really weren't paying attention. But that one time it was hot. Oh no. Mm-mm. So wisdom is a valuable asset. It is very challenging to receive because it requires you to experience things. But your knowledge, no one can ever take that knowledge away from you. You cannot unlearn something that you have learned. You shouldn't unlearn something that you have learned. And if anybody tries to unlearn you or unteach you, walk away. You don't even have to go through a whole dialogue with them. You don't have to say anything. Just walk away. Because in coming up, when we were in elementary school, and there was a student in class who wanted attention, and of course, what would the teacher call them? A clown. They're acting like a clown in class. If you don't give them any attention, they'll shut down. So when you get people who want to do things that you seem to think is foolishness or being a clown about something, walk away, don't say anything, and eventually they'll be quiet because they don't have an audience. And they get tired of hearing themselves speak because they don't even believe what they're saying, but they're hoping somebody else will. And if they can get some followers, as we've seen over the last 6 years with some of the politics, if you can get some followers to believe in foolishness, I mean wholeheartedly, boy, you are powerful. You are powerful. So let me give you some statistics, Ronleen, that I found that I thought were good. Black buying power in America, as I already stated, Uh, as of 2020, here's another uh, survey done by the Nielsen Rating Company. They said 1.57 trillion. Black viewing power. Here's a particular one we need to look at. Black viewing power. 1.06 trillion. Now, if we're only 47 million, how can we view at a rate of 1.6 trillion? And let me just help everyone understand what viewing means. Every time you look at something, if you look at something, turn away and look back at it and turn away and look back at it and turn away, how many times did I do that?
4 times.
Okay, that's every time I turned away and came back, that's a view. That's how that number can be a trillion plus. So when we're watching things on TV, and that equivalates to watching advertising,
Mhm.
because our buying power is 1.57 trillion. So if we see it enough, we're going to act on it. Online shopping by Black families, 48%. 48%. Wow. Offline shopping, 11%. So we're now shopping more online. And in order to do that, you got to have a what piece of equipment?
A mobile device.
A mobile device, computer. You got to have one of those. And forget having a PC or a laptop. You got a phone, you got a computer.
Mhm.
You got a phone, you can order something online. Buy this, buy that. Uh, Two-thirds Black viewers buy from brands that broadcast representative content. What that means is when Black people see products or services being advertised and they see themselves in such advertising, the likelihood they're willing to spend their money for that particular product and or service. U.S. Black population tune into the radio. Check this out: 92% per week. Well, we listen to the radio. Representation in TV programs, 51%. Once upon a time, that was barely 5%. Smartphone ownership, Ronleen. Smartphone ownership, 98%. You know what that means? Every Black person got a phone. Every Black person got a phone. For
Mhm.
some of us, two phones.
Mhm.
I'm a witness. Advertisement spends on media forecasts on Black people. How much is the media spending to advertise directed toward Black people? And this came out in 2019, $3.8 billion. That's how much is being spent. And streaming subscriptions, Black people constitute 70% increase as of 2020. So we are engaged in commerce on a regular basis. We are engaged in commerce. And as long as we're engaged in commerce, we're going to be spending. The problem is we're not producers, we're more consumers. What do you think about that?
And you're right. Incidentally, for my birthday, I went to a restaurant here in Jacksonville, and I was looking around the ladies' restaurant, and I saw all of these online orders coming in, and I was grateful for that. And then I happened to look up on her wall, operating from the television. There were advertisements going on. And so I asked her, was she the owner of of that advertising device? And she said she was not. And she told me about the company that is. And it's the same company that we see through when we go through to pay our registration for our car, our auto registrations, so I was like, are they giving you a percentage of that? And she was like, no. She said, but he does bring business, my way, and that kind of thing, or whatever. And so I got to thinking about that. I said, okay, the average dinner is costing about $20 or whatever. So if he brings at least 5 people per week and that kind of thing, so I was like, well, but then, Earl, when you taught me about impressions, and things like that, and how all of that works, I was just thinking like this man is running a multi, as you would say, $1 million business or $1 trillion business out of her business for her to receive so little, you know. So anyway, as I was asking her the questions, and here's where I say, you know, you can't unhear whatever it is that you've heard, you know. So if she's a numbers person, you know, she got exactly what I was saying right away, you know, understanding that, you know what, I need to be asking for more. And this is where we need to be as people. You know, I don't care what your ethnic background is, you need to start asking. You know, do not allow people to take advantage of you because as you say, Earl, this is one of the things that we've allowed, you know, within ourselves, whether it be our own children. You know, just I heard not too long ago how children are called home, you know, and their parents not able to really put food on the table for themselves, trying to send them to college, but they'll call home and say, "Hey, I need $200 adjusted on that credit card or whatever because I'm out to dinner." And they tell them that, you know, they're entertaining some friends or whatever the case may be. And the parents actually fork over that $200 or whatever. And then when you find out where they are, you know, the parents never have eaten there. And the child never thinks to bring their, you know, their parents there, you know, when they are able to earn money on their own. And just so happened today, you know, speaking of that, Earl, many children who got out here within the last 2 to 3, 4 years, or even 10 years, you know, find out that adulting, meaning that they're not able to live on their own, you know, now needing to move back home, you know, even after the education and things like that. So, Earl, we have a real problem. And as you say, you know, we can't blame always on the government about, you know, what we allow to happen at home. We need to be teaching some values um, at home as well to our youth. And going forward, that needs to happen as well. Put out some hard lessons for them to really understand what it takes to live out here, what it is that they have to do, and why we always say, because what we were taught, you have to do twice as much in order to get the same or less. And according to the stats that you have brought to us today, you know, we are far getting less.
Well, I recall that statement being made, Ronleen, and after I started being my own business owner, my own entrepreneur, I stopped subscribing to the thought that I got to be twice as good. I don't have to be twice as good. I have to be just as good as anyone else. And I say that from this vantage point. In a business, service is what will make or break your business. I
Mhm.
don't have to offer service twice as good. I have to offer service that is in high quality. It doesn't have to be twice as much. I need to make it as high quality as possible so that my service speaks for itself. My products speak for themselves. If it's of a high quality, I don't have to do twice as much. I just need to be at a higher quality, higher service. So this subscribing to the twice as good. Once upon a time, yeah, that was the case. Now, and just from my vantage point, you must offer high quality service and products. You don't have to make it twice as good. It needs to just be quality, and you need to stand behind your service and product. If you make a mistake, stand behind it, own up to it, and fix it, correct it. That's all there is to it. People will accept you apologizing for a mistake more so than you trying to run away and cover it up and things like that. Because once they found out that's what you're doing, as we've always heard, bad news travels fast. Do something wrong or bad or terrible in your business, and watch how fast your business might decline because the word goes out. But when you're doing something good, people want to come back to quality, and that was what I found when I was doing my souvenir business back in the 80s at black college football games. And I made an observation that when people got good service. And I always prided myself, and I spoke to the people who were working with me at that time. As long as we provide good service, quality products, anytime somebody had a problem, if I sold you something that was incorrect or had a flaw in it, I'm going to exchange it right on the spot. I recall people walking up to our area when we were selling things with T-shirts they had purchased from someone else in the stadium, and they would walk up with the T-shirt folded up under their arm, and I would ask the question before I even let them get to asking me about my products. I would ask them, "They didn't give you a bag for your shirt?" Or your hat or what? They didn't give you a bag. I said, would you go to the department store and buy something without getting a bag? And they would be like, oh no. And I would take one of my bags and put that other product in that bag. Now that person was just, as they say, we're just looking. But my little gesture and my little comment caused them to ask the question, how much are your things? And that would cause or lead to a sale just by me putting their product that they purchased from somewhere else in a bag. So it's just that type of service. So when we do those things, and I know you know this being in the insurance business, when you go beyond, when you do more than expect, it's, as they say, I give you something else that we should subscribe to. Um, do more, you know, do more. You know, people want, give more as opposed to less. Do more than working on the less. When you do that, you have a tendency to retain and increase your customer base, and you get that good word going out about who you are.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that because you're right about that. Uh, to be able to bring the high quality and to be able to show your consumers that you care, that you really appreciate their business. And, most importantly, who else can you serve? Just be a good servant out here. And that's what I found, to be able to, um, they'll remember you more, for being the person that served them.
Promise less, deliver more.
Yes.
That's what I was attempting to say. Promise less, deliver more. And when you do that, you're going to always be on the upside of getting more business and getting a quality of clientele, because you can get 100 people, but if there are 100 bad customers, man, you wish you didn't have one of them. But if you got 10 quality customers versus 100 poor customers, I'm going to take that 10 quality because they're going to help my business grow. That 100, they're just here for the moment, and they're, wherever they see the next best deal, that's where they're going. But people who value quality and you promising less but delivering more, man, they will stick with you. And even 20 years after I had stopped my souvenir business, I had still had some people ask me, do you still do t-shirts? Do you still do souvenirs? And no, I don't. But just the fact that they asked the question said that they remembered. So promise less, deliver more.
Thank you so much. That's right on time. Right on time.
So this last little tidbit that I want to share with everyone. The average first home purchased by black homeowners was valued at 127,000 compared to 139,000 for white homeowners. Yet on an average, the mortgages for black homeowners was $15,000 higher, and the mortgage debt was $15,000 uh, compared to the value difference of 12,000. So we get less of a home and we pay more for it. We still get treated as if we are not a part of this country for all we've done. But again, the great Maya Angelou said it best: "Still we rise."
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And then when I was looking at the 87% of white homeowners bought their first homes before age 35 compared to with only 53% of black homeowners. And then not only are black households less likely to buy their homes young. Only 18% of them never own a home before turning 60 or 61.
Yeah. So, the fact of the matter is, we have to do a better job. And if possible, I'm gonna just say this before we close out. If possible, stop stop investing in a 30-year mortgage. Don't do it. If the 15-year mortgage is going to cost you $20, $30 extra a month, do that, because at the end of 30 years, you would have bought two houses, and the value may not be there after 30 years. So if you can get in and get out 15 years, pay a little extra, as we used to say in the car business, if it costs you a little extra, buy one less Coke a week, buy one less Happy Meal a week, buy one less, or go out one time less a week and save and put that in your house. So that was my last little part, Ronleen, because that was a big saving. It's a beautiful thing to know that the house you live in is paid off, and you don't have to send that mortgage note in anymore. The house is yours, and whatever you sell it for, you get all the money.
Yeah, yeah.
You get every dime.
Well,
So,
thank you for bringing that out because that is out. You're right on market with that. Okay. Well,
well, that's going to do it for us today here on the Kitchings Table. Until the next time, and next Tuesday morning here on WBIS 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio. I'm Earl Kitchings. She's Ron Lee Kennedy, and we'll look forward to joining you again next Tuesday morning here on the Kitchings Table. As always, do something good for someone else today. Take care.
thank you.